Hey everyone, I had a chance to do a class with JP over at CT Pistol Class. I'll leave a link to his YouTube channel down below, and I loved it. It was a rifle class. It was a really great time. It was really dynamic. We did a lot of movement. The people we trained with were fantastic individuals, and I had a really good time. But I wanted to do a little video on some of the takeaways that I had from the class personally. I'm not going to talk too much about the specific drills that we did in the class and a lot of JP's kind of proprietary information. That's not my place to do so. If you want more information on what he offers in his class, contact him. He's a great guy. So anyway, I will just talk about my experience with the class. Number one, gear. Let's talk about that first because it's kind of the easiest thing, although definitely not the most important. I brought one rifle. I brought two rifles. I only used one rifle. And that was my Connecticut Other firearm.
Oh yeah.
This is my 12.5-inch carbine length barrel Connecticut Other, form one with the pistol brace, and I have a Diligent Defense Enticer S suppressor on here with the Atlas, Rudin Atlas mounting system. This was the first class that I took the Diligent Defense Enticer to, and technically only my second time shooting it. I've had this can for 6 months now, and I don't have a lot of chance to go to the range, so I'm a little embarrassed about that. One of my buddies rags on me all the time. He's a good dude, but he gets to go a lot more frequently than I do. But this was the exact setup that I used. Holosun red dot on here. This is the HS503GU, and I just keep this in the red dot only mode. It doesn't have the solar backup. It's the red dot only with the buttons. I don't believe they offer this anymore. I didn't see it on their website. If I were to do this again, I would just get the rotary knob one. And it's been great. And I have backup sights, which I didn't use at all. I have a Streamlight TLR1 ProTac rail mount 1 mounted on the side of here with a standard button. I don't run the wire on here. If I need to use it, I can reach over and press it. And then I have a little piece of athletic tape rubber banded over the front of the lens cover, which will reduce glare or reflection if I'm shooting. And if I need light in any situation, I just rip that off and do what I do. I will eventually get a kill flash for this. I've also painted the gun, and it's okay if it gets scratched up. But the shooting that I did was really good. However, the sling is mounted a little loose. I have paracord mounts for the front of the rail, and I have it mounted to right here. I didn't mount it to the stock because I don't like where the mount is on the QD. I don't like QDs specifically because they're a little loud, so I wanted to use the Magpul sling and then just mount to paracord so it's quiet. Something JP did, which I'm going to try, is he took the sling and mounted it through the back of the stock so it can kind of hold the back of the stock closer to your shoulder. I noticed that, but I haven't tried it yet. I will try that at some point. What I noticed was the stock was kind of kicking out from my body, and as I was shooting, the very first thing that I noticed was the suppressor, which got super hot, went and contacted, these are the pants that I wore, my nylon pants. And you can see right here, I got a really nice burn into the pants. Got a little more airflow through there, and melted some material onto the suppressor. Not a big deal. I don't care about that. It'll burn off eventually. But something JP recommended was to get a suppressor cover. So I haven't tried this yet, but this is a mechanics wear, just like the gloves, suppressor cover. I'm going to mount this onto here, and I'll try shooting it. We'll see what happens. I'm sure it'll smoke a little bit in the beginning. I don't shoot enough to melt a can. This will retain heat a little more, so it'll cool off slower. But once that happened and I was shooting, I was a lot more careful about where my suppressor was going, where it was touching. So even when I was doing transitions to a pistol, you know, I do my shooting and then I'm like, okay, let's watch the tip of the suppressor. And you don't really want to be as worried about that. Obviously, if something's a little more stressful, you just toss it and then you go to your pistol. But again, something I gotta get better at. The extended charging handle that I have on here was poking me in the gut a little bit. Part of that's the issue with my gut, and part of that's the issue with the charging handle. I may swap this to a standard charging handle. I did not find myself using the charging handle much at all. Safety, I use the ambidextrous safety on the gun a lot. It works great. I wouldn't change that. Gun worked really well and was surprisingly accurate for what it was. All of the accuracy issues were my fault. The biggest issue that I had, which was not the gun, it was my interface with the gun, was my stance.
Stand by.
I posted a video, a short, on YouTube, and in that I asked for some feedback and like, what's going on? JP commented on this. I didn't ask him to comment, but he did. And he said exactly the thing that I was thinking. I had a couple of points of feedback on it. The first was my stance. My stance in that video that I saw was garbage. Now, there was another video that I recorded of a running drill, and the stance wasn't bad for the drill, but I had a number of chances to get into my shooting stance, and those were all opportunities for me to correct an issue with my stance. What I had in the short was I brought up my gun to the target, but I wasn't behind my reticle, and then I kind of crouch over my gun, and I'm kind of like rounding my back over the gun, and because of that, I'm not really like behind it. I'm kind of like up and over. And I didn't find myself to be very secure behind the gun. Recoil wasn't as easily controlled. Now, granted, this gun does not recoil a lot, but it was something that I could have done a lot better on. On top of that, I was spending a lot more time between targets, and on reloads, I would drop the mag, do my reload, and there was a lot of wasted movement. I wasn't keeping the gun up kind of in my workspace, doing that reload and getting back on target from here. There was a lot of like up and down kind of stuff going on. All of those are potential points of improvement. Handgun shooting, I did pretty well. I noticed, and I know this for a fact, when I shoot handgun, I fall off a cliff from a skill level side when I get tired. If I'm not paying attention, it gets bad. I shoot my HK-45 really well if I'm focused. If I'm not focused, it really opens up. I showed up with my battle belt as well, and I never even put it on. I just had my handgun in the appendix position in my carry holster. I did add a pistol magazine pouch and a rifle magazine pouch just for convenience. But if I ever, had to pick up my rifle, pick up my handgun, whatever, mags would just go in my pockets unless I really had to get dressed up for the occasion. Then I would put on this and maybe some armor and whatever, but that's a different situation. I wanted to train for a more dynamic kind of thing, and focus on the skills, not so much exhausting my body. And guys, kind of the last part of this, physical fitness. Like I said, this was a dynamic class. I was so happy with the dynamicism, with the movement that we had during the class. It was a lot of fun, and everyone was safe about it. When you start moving around, everyone has to be at least a little competent. You can't be a beginner shooter when you're moving like that. Something JP was all about was taking it at your own pace, whatever that your comfort level is, and he never really pushed anyone other than just encouraging them to move at the fastest pace they were comfortable with. And we all pushed ourselves, and it was great to see. You could really see the people who were, everyone was doing everything they could. So yeah, it was great. But as far as physical fitness goes, I've been going to the gym a lot. I know I still have a bit of a gut, and that's something I'm working on as well. But cardiovascularly, I've been doing really well personally over the last couple of months specifically, but I've been focusing on it for about the last 18 months. And I'm glad that I did, because it was a benefit. Cardiovascularly, I felt pretty good. I probably could have gone a lot faster, but I was focusing on safety, and I wanted to make sure I was, moving at a pace that I could really test my shooting ability, not just my cardio. But I still do have extra gut that I got to get rid of. And I've been doing well on my cardio training, but I need to be losing weight. And when it comes to just your own fitness, take inventory and be honest with yourself about where your strengths are and where your weaknesses are. And for me, carrying around an extra 20 or 30 pounds of body weight is a burden, literally. It is something I'm carrying around that I don't need to be. That could be 20 or 30 pounds of water or ammo or extra clothing or backpack or armor or you name it, whatever it is. That is more physical ability that I'm using for essentially useless body weight in that moment. Yes, it will help me if I'm in a long-term survival stand, if I have to outlast someone on food for a matter of months. Yeah, okay, cool. I can eat less food over the course of a long time and survive. But whatever, that's not that beneficial, guys. So, that was another thing that kind of came to light more, is that I need to kind of step up my game as far as losing weight. So, cool. Let's do it. So guys, especially with the cardio stuff, stay safe out there, do your part, and even with your own body, train with what you carry. See ya. There we go. When it comes to practicing stance, it's going to be a lot of dry fire. It's going to be a lot of, let's be sneaking around the house after everyone else is asleep. No, seriously, unloaded and do your thing. P.S. There was one thing I forgot to mention. My elevation and windage knobs. I had this thing out at the range in the winter, back in January, I believe, and I was sighting the rifle in. It sighted in really well, actually, and I was a little concerned because I was using slightly different ammo for the shooting, but I guess when I tightened the suppressor cover, or the optics covers down, the optics covers were not secured well enough. I have a photo that I took before I started shooting, and the optics covers are definitely there, so I didn't forget to put them on, but I lost them while I was shooting. So Holosun, I contacted them, and I was like, hey guys, I cannot find where to buy these things. Can you help me out? Can you tell me where I can find them? And they said, hey, just send us the serial number and where you bought your your optic from, and we'll send them out to you. So they're in the mail apparently. That's awesome. Holosun, way to go. I have new ones in the mail. So you can see some on here. I stole them from another optic that I have, and a very similar Holosun optic, and the new covers will go to that other guy. But when that's done, shout out to Holosun for just supporting their product and an idiot user like me. I bought this optic 4 years ago, a little over 4 years ago, and I guess it was just cold when I secured the covers down, and I don't know, they were aluminum. It was sub-zero, so probably there was a thermal expansion thing going on, so they probably got loose, and I never bothered to cinch them down when it was warm again. And when I was shooting, they just vibrated off and are somewhere in some the lawn of some range right now. So yeah, whatever. There's other ones you can buy, aftermarket ones that don't look as well made, but Holosun, props to them for supporting their product. I know there's a lot of other really good red dot options out there, but so far, like I said, I've had no issues with this red dot. I've had it for 4 years. I've changed the battery once, and I'm just going to keep running it until the battery dies. And I've got another battery in my range bag for when it does, and backups that I can use just in case. Something I have tried in the past, speaking of when optics die, have your rear sight as well. But even if you don't use the rear sight, especially close up, like 10 yards and so, you can just use the optic body and your front sight, even without the dot, and that's good enough for like 10 to 20 yards. You can get a pretty good shot with that, just using your front sight and the circle of the optic body. Even if you're running a lower third co-witness, it's pretty good from an elevation side as well. If you're running an absolute, you can get it pretty damn good all the way up to 50. But then it's just granularity. Obviously, you can't adjust your optic for windage or elevation, your optic body itself, but it's pretty good on its own. Anyway, guys, see ya.